Grap Up, your monthly blast of cold takes on the world of professional wrestling. Available everywhere good podcasts are sold. I am the Intrepid Traveler. I am Mark Robinson. And with me is the editor over at the Wrestling Observer. He is Brian Rose. I feel like the editor
What's
isn't
up?
giving you enough credit for, I'm guessing, the I know you do like video production content as well. So, like, is there like an official title I should
Yeah,
know from now on? Is it just editor or is there more to it than that?
it's just editor.
Okay.
I edit stuff on the front page. I do YouTube posts. I sometimes do Twitter. I do a lot of stuff. I'm kind of like a jack of all trades, pretty much.
But your services are I very much enjoy your content and hey,
Thank
every
you.
day like on YouTube I'm getting recommendations for the Wrestling Observer video clips and whatnot, so your job is being noticed.
It's
It's
working.
working. Yeah. How you doing this month? How's October for you?
October's been pretty good. Just a lot of work and a lot of wrestling. I was doing my star ratings last night, and there is so much good wrestling every week. It's kind of insane and pretty hard to choose like what was the best match of the month. I think I gave like two matches in October 5 stars,
Oh,
which is something I don't do that often. So I mean, when you look at it like that, it was a great month for wrestling.
I have had the 5-star fear this year. I think I've only given one match 5 stars so far. But there's a couple of matches
Mine's been like three or four.
I have to go back to a couple because I know that I gave the first FTR Briscoes 4.75 or 4 and 3/4,
Oh,
and
I get
yeah,
five.
I figure most people have gone five in that, and I'm definitely going to go back and give it a rewatch to see for myself. I know some people were given one of the matches we'll talk about tonight 5 stars as well, but I think I only went 4.5. But we will get to that. Most importantly, Brian, I want to find out, like, because as we were talking about on Link to the Cast last week, but do you do Halloween? How is Halloween for you and the fam? Like, are there any traditions, or is it? Are you so I for me, like when I think of you and where you live, I just think that you live in the desert, and I'm sure it's not exactly like that.
I
So, oh,
do.
you do? Okay, all right. So I imagine Halloween.
I pretty much
I imagine
do.
Halloween isn't like the kids are all coming around to pick up candy and whatnot.
You know what? It used to be that kids used to come over all the time, but the last 2 years, I don't know if it's because of COVID or what, but it's like kids don't come over anymore. I got candy and I had it set out, and nobody came. So I mean, I ended up eating all the candy. So it works in that sense, but I mean, I don't know why, but kids just avoid this area for some reason now. I don't know why. I guess maybe another neighborhood has better candy or whatever, but no, it used to be that kids used to come here all the time, and we give 'em candy, but now it's like no, they have vanished. I don't know where to, but
I
not
imagine
here.
COVID probably does play a part in it. I'm quite fortunate that I live
Probably.
in a gated apartment complex, and so because I'm in a flat, unless the kids are gonna buzz up to try and get us to come down, which never happens. We have it
Yeah.
kind of fairly good. It's fairly quiet here because I don't want to deal with kids. I don't want to deal with like I'm too old for that kind of stuff now.
Uh, and plus, the peak hours would be during Raw, and I'm like kind of focused on
I
Raw,
suppose that would, yeah.
and I don't want to like to do the work. I mean, if I didn't have to watch Raw, I probably wouldn't. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of busy focusing on work, and it's like I hope the kids will come over during this time, and then I got my wish,
Yeah, it worked out well this year
so
at
that
least.
worked out for
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
What most importantly as well, what have you been playing over the last month?
I've been playing a lot of Persona 5 Royal
This is on
for
Game Pass. Yeah.
Xbox. Yes, Game Pass. And I beat Persona 5 back in 2016, and I thought it was very cool, like one of the most stylish games ever, like the most stylish UI I have ever seen. It's really cool and it's really hip. I kind of like Persona 4 more. I guess I just like the characters and setting more than the 5, but 5 is pretty good. It's very enjoyable, very long. I'm barely like in the third area, and I've been spending like 30 hours into the game so far. So I still have a long ways to go, and there's still a lot of things to do, and there's a lot of things to do. But yeah, that's a very fun RPG series, and I'm looking forward to playing 4 again when that comes out. I think in January, and 3. I've never played 3, so I'm gonna play that when it comes out. I think also in January. I think they come out on the same
Yeah, I
day or
think
something like
there's like a
that.
bundle of them coming out.
Yeah,
Yeah, as someone who's
yeah,
currently thick in the neck with Elden Ring, the idea of jumping into like another 100-hour plus game at the moment is a horrifying thought. So
yeah.
I'm desperately just clutching at like
I I did buy Elden Ring because I knew it was gonna come up in Game of the Year discussions and stuff. So I went and bought it, and then I played like 30 minutes, and I immediately realized it's not for me at all because I just kept dying,
yeah,
and it wasn't fun for me. So I'm like, you know what? To people who play Elden Ring, good for you. I'm sure for you it was a very enjoyable experience. I'm sure it's going to win a lot of Game of the Year awards. It's not for me. I like games where I can set it to casual and just have a nice time. I don't want to die a lot. I don't want to feel bad.
yeah.
So I avoid those kind
I
of
spent the
games.
first 2 hours playing on stream, and I had friend of the show, Sean McGee, basically guide me
Yeah.
through the first 2 hours because I'd have had no idea what I didn't even know how to run. Um,
I just roamed around and I kept getting killed by like a really large ogre
yeah,
character,
that'll
like by
happen.
the ocean or something.
Yep, yep, I know exactly the one.
I it's I'm like, why? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to train? How am I supposed to like get past this giant ogre by the
Yeah,
ocean? And I never figured that
yeah,
out, and
yeah.
I stopped caring enough to figure it out.
Well, speaking of things that I've stopped caring about, I guess we'll jump into WWE, and
Wow,
I guess the kind of
I, I
sorry,
I don't think it's that bad.
I don't know, North American wrestling over the past month, there's been a few bits and pieces here and there, but for the most part,
Yeah.
a lot on the kind of big two American companies I've not cared for this month, but
The,
we will get to it.
the weird thing about it is that WWE kind of has momentum, at least in terms of people going to shows and stuff, and something happened this summer. It was like kind of before or kind of after May with a Double or Nothing. It just all of a sudden WWE started gaining momentum, and this was even kind of before Vince McMahon got fired or resigned or whatever. And AEW's momentum has just kind of been down. Like their shows are still good, and it's probably Dynamite's probably still the best TV show of the year. I don't think there's even really any contest about that one, but I don't know. It's just like I used to look way more forward to these AEW shows, and the build used to be so much better, and now they're kind of not. And WWE is kind of better, but I'm looking at this Crown Jewel show this weekend, and it's not like anything's really lighting my world on fire. It's probably going to be like a good show, but I don't know. It's just like nothing is setting my world on fire.
I mean, I don't think there's ever been an out and outright good crown jewel show. It was
The one last year was, I
last year's
think,
had the Hell in a Cell with Edge and Seth Rollins, which was the
that was really
yeah, which
good.
was a very very good match. That's the one thing that I can
Yeah,
remember from that show. But by and large, crown jewel, yeah,
yeah. Mostly these are just
pretty painless.
I don't know.
Painful, but
It's
painless in the fact that they don't last that
painful.
long. They tend to be
The one
overdone with
last year
promos.
was better than the other
Yeah.
shows with like Shawn Michaels coming back and
We
having a
don't
sad
speak of that.
match, and
We don't
Goldberg
speak
and
of that. That never happened.
Goldberg and Undertaker
We
having
don't
a
speak
really
of that.
bad
That never
match.
happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like one of our third most watched videos of all time.
God.
Dave and Bryan talking about Goldberg and the
Yeah.
Undertaker.
I tell you what, actually, do you know what? I want to stick with. I know I said WWE, but I think I want to stick with AEW first because I want to talk
Okay.
about the fact that, like, for me, and there does seem to be a kind of consensus to this at the moment that, and it's got nothing to do with like the momentum that WWE has, but just purely my interest in
Yeah.
AEW over the last month, really since the fallout of All Out. My interest in a lot of the things that the company are doing and the storyline directions they're going in and the people that they're bringing in. Let's talk about last fucking night's series of events. there's just a lot of small things they're doing where there's this kind of death by a thousand cuts sort of feeling where there's not like this one big
Mm,
thing that's kind of killing my interest, but there's all these little things that I'm just like, I don't have time for this. And while I think that the overall kind of core direction with the whole MJF and John Moxley thing is very much compelling, primarily on the basis of what MJF is doing. Um,
yeah,
Otherwise, kind of up and down the card, there's not really much else that is particularly engaging me because either of poor storyline direction, a storyline that's been dragging on forever, or just characters and wrestlers doing things that I just don't want to see in AEW, aka the Swerve
yeah.
Strickland nonsense from Rampage on last week. And so I want to check.
I thank you because I got people mad at me because I didn't like the idea of a live kidnapping on TV and torture on TV.
That's
I really got people upset at me
that's
about
a
that.
very reasonable thing to not want in your wrestling.
Yeah, like I don't want to see that. I'm sorry, people.
So I just
Like why would I want to see that?
I just want to like check, get a temperature check with the room and just find out, am I completely mad or am I onto something here where I feel like just I don't think it's exactly momentum, but just the kind of temperature with AEW has cooled off quite a bit since All Out.
Yeah. I kind of think it was kind of before that. I kind of thought like the build to Forbidden Door and kind of the build to All Out was kind of not as strong as previous years. But this built a for was it Full Gear? Full Gear, yeah, a Full Gear. I mean, it's like okay, MGF and John Moxley is compelling because MGF is one of the best promos in pro wrestling right now, and I don't think it's even remotely close. He is a very compelling character, and he should very much win the title from Moxley at the show. But everything else, it kind of feels like I kind of don't want to see this. I don't want to see Swerve and Lee versus the Acclaim for the 40th time. I kind of want to see the Acclaimed in FTR, which they kind of like got themselves out of doing last week when Swerve and Lee won the match against them on Rampage, I think. And then I mean I can't even remember what else is they're kind of cheesing for that show.
Well, there's the ongoing Jericho Ring of Honor stuff, and there's aspects of it that I think are decent in terms of like, hey, you need to do this kind of 1 week storyline with Dalton Castle, and so they had a bit of a backstory there. That's fine, no issue with that. But
But are they building that for Full Gear for Final Battle?
you would think they're going to have Jericho on Final Battle. That would be
Yeah,
the kind of logical thing, and in the long run, I expect that it will pay off in terms of, hey, you have Jericho in Final Battle. That gives it a bunch of interest. You would think that that will be one of the, like, I mean, pretty much every Ring of Honor pay per view in the Tony Khan period has been up there in like most successful in terms of buys. You think Final Battle will hit that as well, but the kind of week to week notes of it, I'm kind of done with this whole Blackpool Combat Club Jericho appreciation. So like this thing has been going on for
it's been
about
dragging on for a
6
long
months
time.
now, like I'm ready to fucking move on to the next thing. And
Yeah.
like as much as as much as I appreciate Jericho and absolutely think in terms of, the idea of him reinventing himself, in terms of keeping himself interesting, there are none that have done it better than Jericho. But like, I'm kind of at. I go through periods with Jericho where I'm like, all right, I'm fucking done with you for a while, and I've had this with him in AEW. Like, this is not the first time I've got to this point, but I'm very much at that point with him again. And I just, if Final Battle is like the end destination for whatever this storyline is, I just want to fucking get there already.
Yeah, my thing is that I always thought it should be Danielson beating Jericho for the title, but now I kind of remember like the graphics so far for Final Battle is Samoa Joe. Like they featured Samoa Joe on those graphics, so I'm kind of wondering like if they're going to have Jericho versus Danielson again at Full Gear for the Ring of Honor title, and Danielson wins. Then they go on to maybe Danielson and Garcia at like Final Battle.
I could see potentially they've got Samoa Joe on the Ring of Honor graphics, to keep you guessing, but also because
Yeah,
Samoa Joe is, synonymous with Ring of Honor. So it's probably better to have him in the graphics for that than Jericho, who's, the whole point of the storyline is that he is trying to
yeah,
destroy Ring of Honor. So I think just from a storyline perspective, it makes more sense that way. Possibly they could do that thing where Danielson wins it at Full Gear, but I think the storyline plays out better if you keep that for Final Battle. And considering Garcia is still the pure champ anyway, I don't think that you need to do like a
yeah.
joint
That's
title
true.
thing for that. But I guess I'd forgotten that Final Battle is a thing that is coming up in December.
Yep.
Where is it? Where is it from this year? It's not in New York, is it?
Texas.
Yes, that
Somewhere in
well-known
Texas.
classic Ring of
That's
Honor
all I remember.
destination, Texas.
Somewhere in
All
Texas.
right.
Yeah, I think Impact used to run that arena. I forget the name, but I know Impact's run it recently. So it's a smaller building.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
I can look
like
it
Ring
up.
of Honor, like Final Battle is so synonymous with like the northeastern area, so it's kind of it's
Yeah.
jarring to think that it'll be in Texas this year. But I mean, sure, why not? Like
It's-
under Tony Khan, they've got the
I
stroke
can.
to pull it off, I guess, at this time.
Yeah. It's going to be at College Park Center in Arlington,
Okay,
Texas.
do you know what the
So it's not. That's an ROH stronghold. It's
no?
not.
Do you know what the capacity setup for that is?
Let me see. It says 7,000. They're
7,000.
not going to get 7,000 for
I
Ring of
mean,
Honor.
if
No,
they get half that, then they're laughing.
that's still a stretch. I've seen those recent AEW ticket numbers themselves, and I don't know how Ring of Honor will do.
I suppose, but yeah, like and that's another thing as well. I guess just I've seen some of the crowds for these AEW shows over October, and it's like there are a lot of blacked out sections, and for the most part, I
Yeah,
can kind of look past it. And as long as the crowds are hot, and the crowds are still quite hot, but sometimes the way that they've kind of shot these shows, it makes like the one thing that you can always give WWE is regardless of like how bad the crowd is, they can shoot those shows and those crowds in a way that you wouldn't even think it. Like the way SummerSlam was shot, and that was what, like a half fucking filled capacity stadium. You would have never guessed it,
yeah, it's true.
That's
And
yeah.
it very much about these the way to shoot these shows is to make sure like you get everybody in the shot and you make it look like there's a bunch of people there. Because sometimes you're getting like 2,400 people, which I think is what AEW got yesterday in Baltimore, which is very low. And despite that though, the crowd last night on Dynamite was pretty hot, and everybody was loud. So it's not like a really bad thing to have like small crowds, but I mean, I think they had like more than half of that, like 4,800 or something, a few months ago or earlier this year.
Yeah. I mean,
So
the argument or the
it isn't a great sign.
I guess the thing you'd have to look at, and I don't know the touring schedules of both AEW and WWE, but you do kind of wonder as like, okay, are they running certain towns too often? Or is it just that the current like crop of storylines aren't engaging? Like, I gotta be honest, while I was just talking there about how hot these crowds still are, the reveal of Cole Carter got probably quite possibly the most minimal reaction
uh,
or pop in terms of there was no fucking pop. Um,
Nobody knows Two
I had
Dimes.
no idea who that
Nobody
was. I
knows.
had no fucking clue. I thought that it was. I thought at first it was Cole
Even me
Fletcher.
saying Two Dimes, people probably won't even know who Two Dimes
I can just
is.
about tell you who Two Dimes is. But yeah, and again, this is the other thing as well. Like, there is a little bit of like later era WCW creeping or TNA creeping into sorry
Yeah.
Garrett creeping into these storylines and the overall flow of these shows where it's like, okay, we've just had Cole Carter which got no reaction, all right, now we've got Jeff Jarrett in the same fucking stable appearing, and it's like sensory overload. And what are we doing here, TK? You know better than this. What are you doing?
Garrett's not gonna like me later when we talk about Bound for Glory because I have a take on it. But yeah, yeah. I mean that the Jarrett thing was kind of weird. I didn't like it. I don't know if it's just like a one time thing or one time storyline where it's like it's Sting and Jarrett on the opposite sides of the ring for a match at Full Gear. Fine. If Jarrett's going to be like a weekly character and he doesn't put anybody over, that then it's like you might as well bring in Bully Ray and these other guys who want to help people, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I still think about what happened earlier this year at GCW when Jeff Jarrett did not put over Effie at
No, he
all.
did not.
Uh,
But hey,
he did
GCW are on
not.
Fight now. They're flying. They can get past that.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean that's an interesting deal.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of like okay. I mean Jarrett's like a fun promo, and you kind of have to admire the fact that he's been all over pro wrestling in
Jarrett
2022
always
at
wins.
55 years old.
That's the rule.
Yeah, which says a lot about how he maneuvers around him. He's very good at doing that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not like sold on Jeff Jarrett in AEW, and it's like too bad for me because he's now like head of live events or something something similar to his role in WWE before he
Well,
was
and like
there.
in fairness, in terms of that like aspect of this, sure, makes sense. Here's a guy with over what, like 30, 35 years of experience,
Yeah,
knows the
it's
game
it's the
back to
80s.
front. And well, actually, no, actually, let's just keep him as far away from creative as possible. But in terms of that aspect of it, like, yeah, he's probably quite smart to bring in. And I don't know. I guess maybe there is like he is still has a character, has a gimmick, has a presence. You can probably do something with him as a mouthpiece, but I think that there's like such a bombardment of like different things going on with the company at the moment that it's veering so close into that bad era of TNA, bad era of WCW territory that it's like and Jeff Jarrett is kind of front and center at both of those bad periods of both of those companies.
It's
So
true.
it's like, oh, we're flying a little bit too close to the sun this time, you know?
Yeah, that is true. He was there during the Russo era because he and Russo, man, they were a team for a few years, both in WCW and then in TNA. So yeah, I mean, I do have memories of that, and none of them were that positive. So I'm hoping that this isn't like that. I hope this isn't the catalyst for Vince Russo to come in, which I don't think is not happening at all. But
Do you
I don't
do you,
know.
do you have anything positive, any matches or anything for AEW this month? Because I looked at my star ratings and I don't have a single
Uh,
match to talk about this month, which is the
really,
first time this year that's happened.
there's been some for AEW. Let me look at my list real quick. Pac versus Trent Beretta, Orange Cassidy versus Pac. Brian Danielson and Sammy Guevara had a good match last week, but yeah, actually, like, or there's also the trios title match to for the vacated titles. I thought that was very good. But yeah, there's nothing on. Actually, there wasn't anything on AEW this month that was like really, really strong. Like my match of the month is not in AEW,
No, absolutely not.
which is kind of not, which is kind of not the
Yeah.
usual. Usually there's like one or two matches that are like really top notch, and this month for whatever reason there wasn't like anything like really strong on
Yeah,
Dynamite.
and I wonder as well because there's a couple of matches there that you could make the case verge around that 4-star territory, but I think that a combination of like no match has really grabbed me, even though there are some matches that may
Yeah,
skirt around those 4 stars because of like my general like low ebb that I have with the company at the moment. I couldn't compel myself to hit 4 stars, and I've been quite picky this
yeah,
month with quite a few matches in some companies. So maybe I'm just on a downswing with my wrestling fandom at the moment, and AEW has felt the wrath of it, but it's also some of its own doing by not
yeah.
giving me the usual quality that they're known for.
The thing is that the quality now is such a high
There
standard.
is
It's
that.
kind of tough to
Yeah.
like do that consistently. Well, like I've seen a lot of 4-star matches, and 3-4 years ago, seeing these kinds of 4-star matches every week would have been super fun. But now it's like AEW has been on for like 3 years now, and there's almost always a good match every week. And now it's kind of like, yeah, these are all great matches, but am I going to remember them the next week? Probably
I mean,
not.
it's not even like AEW. I mean, even WWE. I looked earlier. Actually, wait, no. I still have more matches rated higher in 2021. 2020, I had 13 matches rated 4 stars or higher in WWE, which was horrendous. And actually,
Yeah, it's
if I look at AEW, I had 28 in 2020, I had 36 in 2021, and I've got 35 in 2022, and we still got like November and December. So they'll probably still
yeah.
beat like last year for me, but yeah, October like they probably
Yeah, but this month it was a kind of a dry
yeah,
spell.
it definitely was. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll jump over to WWE then, and of note, the things to mention: Extreme Rules was by and large terrible. Outside
Oh, really?
of the opener,
I thought it was like the most okay show
yeah,
ever. Well, like I can't say it's a good show at all. I can't really say it's a bad show because of the opener,
I think you
but
can
like
still say
everything
a show
else
is
was
bad
like
even if it has a good
there.
opener.
Yeah, I mean that Halloween Havoc show was horrendous in between, but I like the opener and the
I
main
was going to
event.
say it's interesting because I've seen some people like say that that was the worst show of the year and whatever, and I think that it started and ended fine.
Can't be.
I mean, it might be. I'm sure there's like a AAA show that's like worse or whatever, but the ending. So here's I think I understand why the way I approach these shows is different to other people is because I don't really watch a lot of wrestling live and in the moment. Most of the wrestling that I watch, I pick and choose the things that I need to see. So,
Yeah,
while some people could tell me that Mandy Rose has had a terrible reign over her 1 year reign,
she
I don't
has.
know because I've watched about 3 seconds collectively of that reign because I already know it's going
That
to be
was like the worst
terrible.
part of the show too.
Yeah,
Her and Toxic Attraction were invited to like a spooky house
I
by
did hear this.
Alba Fire,
Yes.
and so Toxic Attraction goes to the haunted house, and they like one of them gets stuck in a fridge, and the other one I think gets stabbed off screen or something. Like I don't know. Either way, they're like Alba Fire kidnaps Mandy Rose and takes her back to the arena where they have like a 5 minute match that wasn't that good. Then Toxic Attraction comes out anyway, and they distract Alba Fire, and she gets pinned. Like horrendous.
Cool.
Like what was the point of that?
I don't
It
know.
was not good.
You
Like
know, like everyone was
ugh.
throwing roses over Triple H and this kind of new creative regime, but there are so many elements over Raw, SmackDown, and NXT that are still like, no, none of these.
I still think it's better
It's
than what
better,
you had
but
before.
again,
It's way better,
we are
really.
grading
Do
on
I
the
think
lowest of
it's great?
curves.
No. Yeah, it's a curve, but like I will still take this over Vince McMahon and the Maximum Models, where it's like he's having what's his name go out there and cutting this really weird promo, like going into intricate detail about the models' bodies. Like I would take today's WWE over July WWE any day of the week.
Yeah, but
But that said, it's not like interesting or compelling.
I mean, the
But
one thing I'll give
yeah.
to Vince is he knew that Karrion Cross was a bust and pushed him to the kind of correct degree because this match with him and Drew, this strap match,
he I don't know. I don't know. I never been that high on Karrion Cross. I didn't think he had a good run in NXT. I don't think he's had a good run so far in WWE. I'm kind of hoping like this is the blow off between those two, and McIntyre wins, and they go back to the drawing board because I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Cross. I think he's going to get a lot of uh, chances because he's tall and he kind of has a cool entrance.
no, he's not.
There's
His
kind of cool
entrance
aspects.
sucks. His entrance is fucking lame.
I like
All
it.
right, fucking Scarlet with her stupid little mime and going
Yeah,
screaming,
some
"Fall
people.
and pray."
Yeah,
I hate his entrance so goddamn
some
much,
people don't like it.
and it goes on
Some people
forever.
don't like it.
Ugh.
It does go long.
No,
Well, I mean, it's
what
compelling,
it's
kind
no,
of.
it is not. It is not compelling.
No.
What I'm hoping for, right?
Oh,
What I'm hoping for is that this kind of carrying cross push that we've had over the last couple of months. I'm hoping it's kind of similar to if you remember Vladimir Kozlov spent the summer of '08 or '09 being pushed as like this big force. And then the moment he had that
yeah,
first proper match against Triple H, I think it was like Survivor Series or whatnot, and like the two of them
yeah,
stunk the joint up, and that was the end of the Kozlov
yeah.
push. Push, basically became like a comedy
But
figure after that.
Cross is way better than Kozlov.
Hey, Kozlov had a great match with the Undertaker. All right, I will say that much.
Really?
But then Taker had a
I don't
pretty good
remember.
match with Festus as well. So I don't know. Taker was having a good period at the time. Um, I don't know. I think Cross by and large has been. I think he had like one half decent match or whatever you want to call it in Bloodsport one time. Uh, but outside of this, and you think as well, like, Drew McIntyre has been one of the kind of stronger uh, wrestlers in WWE over the last couple of
That's
years.
true. And
Certainly,
he didn't. They didn't have a great match at Extreme
no,
Rules.
they did not. So I got to put a bit of the blame on Drew as well because, like, hey, here's your chance to A, kind of like make this guy, and B, really kind of cement yourself as like one of the workhorses in the company. And from if you listen to Drew, like he really prides himself on being as good a wrestler as he can be and being one of the kind of top
Yeah.
wrestlers and stars in the company. But just the two of them had fucking nothing. They had nothing in this match. So
No.
what are you gonna do?
Just it. It was just there, and you do bring up that Drew McIntyre has been one of the better wrestlers in WWE all year, and pretty much for the last few years. And he did not have a good match with Karrion Cross here, which says a lot about Cross because not great. It's very tough not to have like a great match with Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, so I do wonder what the kind of next plans for Cross will be because there was for a period of time there you kind of saw the seeds that they were going for some sort of Cross Roman match, but that seems to have like gone way down the fucking totem pole if that is still a thing that they're planning to do at some point.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I guess they need something for Royal Rumble.
I guess. I mean, I imagine. I don't know if the whole Logan Paul thing came in at the last minute, so they put an NXT Cross until that was done. But either way, like,
Maybe.
yeah, Cross is just kind of vanished for the most part, which good because I don't want to have to watch that stupid entrance anymore. Elsewhere on this show, all right, I had a lot of differing opinions on the Finn Balor Edge match, and
Oh,
I
okay.
will say this. I think that the first 20 minutes of this 30-minute match were as fucking tedious and as drawn
I
out
agree.
as you've ever seen in a WWE style I Quit match. But the last 10
Yeah.
minutes, yeah, I was fine with it.
Su-
They ramped up the
super good.
melodrama. I liked how they involved Beth
Yeah.
Phoenix. It made the Dark Order 2.0 look like a kind of menacing presence for once in the fucking
Yeah.
6 months they've been doing this Judgment Day angle. And it kind of like, all right, they've actually kind of figured this out here, and they have a good excuse to not have Edge on for a while, and blah blah blah. And I
Yeah.
actually think this turned out all right, even though the first 20 minutes were
Yeah.
horrendous.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say that they're horrendous, but like
Horrendous, Brian.
super tedious.
Horrendous.
No, no, that it was tedious, very tedious for like the first 20 minutes, and I thought, can we wrap this up? They seem like they've been wrestling forever, and then they started to ramp things up, and like you said, the melodrama started to spike with Beth Phoenix coming out, and Edge saying he quit, and then Rhea Ripley giving Beth Phoenix a concerto anyway. It was very good stuff, and it finally put a lot of heat on the Judgment Day because they've kind of been on and off for a while. They lost a lot prior to this, so they need Finn needed to win here, and he did, which was good. And yes, I thought it was very compelling the last few minutes, and I thought that would lead to a match at Saudi Arabia, but I guess not. I guess maybe for Survivor Series they'll do something there with Judgment Day and Edge and Beth Phoenix. I guess they'll kind of do something there with those people. But yeah, I mean, this was. I thought it was very compelling the last 10 minutes. I thought this would be like one of the better matches of the show if they maybe cut down this match by like 10 minutes. I thought you would have had a way better match then, but they didn't, and it was still pretty good. And what saved it was the last like 10 minutes for sure.
By far the best thing on the show, we mentioned earlier, the opening match, the six-man, good old-fashioned Donnybrook between the Brawling Brutes and Imperium, which, we've had Giovanni Vinci return, and a very, very welcome addition to Imperium to kind of make
Yeah,
the dynamics between this feud make sense by having 3-on-3.
yeah,
And yeah, just a fucking knockout brawl like Sheamus and Volta or Gunter. I still say
terrific
Volta.
chemistry,
Just one of the better
yeah,
feuds of the year because it's just two very large men beating the shit out of
definitely.
each other. And yeah, just good stuff here. Like fucking this brawling brutes stable is crazy over as a babyface team, which is
Yeah,
kind of wild, but like anything is possible, and this is where we are. And I mean, Imperium are as like the kind of ultimate bad guys as you can get, really. So
yeah.
yeah, just good stuff all around here.
It is kind of wild that the Brawling Brutes are like one of the most over bay faces on SmackDown or probably in WWE. And I think what helps is that they just have really great matches. And what resuscitated them was this feud with Gunther and Imperium. And Gunther and Sheamus had an incredible match at the show in Wales. And then we had a match here, which was excellent. And then I think Sheamus and Gunther had a match like the day before or something, and that was also a really good match. So this has been like a really really great feud in ring wise, and really even outside the ring, it's been very compelling. I'm using compelling too much, but it was really good. I thought that was a great opener and absolutely the highlight of the show because there wasn't anything else that was as good as just from bell to bell as good as this.
All right, I got two words for you, and I just want like your immediate like
Oh,
initial gut reaction to any aspect of this. Right, you ready?
okay.
Bray Wyatt.
Uh,
uh,
like, ugh. The first 2 weeks was okay. Then on Friday, that Uncle Howdy stuff is like, are we going to see like 2 months of him feuding with himself? This is what we're. This is like everything I
I mean,
don't
that's fine
like
because it
about
means he's
Bray
not
Wyatt.
wrestling anyone else.
That's what I said, and then the Uncle Howdy stuff happened.
Yeah,
Now I'm like, can he wrestle now,
I gotta say, what
please?
was really jarring is that the first SmackDown he did after he returned, and he spoke for I don't know like 10 minutes, and he was just speaking as himself. I
That
found
was
it.
that's that was
I
good.
found it really jarring because I've been listening to this man for the last like 10 odd years.
He sounded lucid.
He sounds it's weird because he sounds like himself, but to my
Yes.
ears, he doesn't sound like himself because he's been playing this fucking,
No.
like
Yeah.
swamp
Yeah.
wizard for the last 10 years or some.
He speaks in riddles all the time, and he's out here saying how he loves the fans and everything. And it's like, okay, this isn't the normal Bray Wyatt
And I
promo.
think what it is it's kind of similar to like the MJF thing, where if whenever MJF cuts a babyface promo, I can't buy it because I'm so ingrained. And I with MJF though, I feel like that's part of the he understands that and he plays up to that and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But here with Bray Wyatt, and I'm sure he was doing a very sincere promo, and he made reference to Brody Lee and that kind of stuff. So I'm like, I absolutely am confident that he is sincere in what he's saying, but I still couldn't buy it because of the 10 years prior of what his character has
Yeah.
been and how fucking goofy that character has gotten, certainly over the last couple of years.
When he came out and started doing that, my immediate thought was, okay, something's going to happen where he just like I don't know what was going to happen, but something is going to happen because he's coming out here and he's being like himself. And this isn't spooky or something WWE wants him to be. They want him to be spooky, And then sure enough, I got cut out with some one of his masks saying something. I can't make out what the mask said, and then it just ended. It's like, okay, sounds about right.
Yeah. But everything like that has come with this, and this idea that he's going to feud with himself, I like. You know,
It sounds
it's
dumb.
the whole thing again where it's like, hey, you know what? If he's going to be doing this, at least he's doing it in WWE, and no one else has to deal with it. And the idea apparently that like he had talks with AEW, and I'm sitting here thinking, TK, what are you doing, my man? What's going on? Like, do you need to take like a 6 month sabbatical? Just go chill out, go fucking watch Fulham play, just do whatever else, but do not do whatever it is that you're doing at the moment. So
The
yeah.
thing with Bray Wyatt is he's a very creative person, and you kind of want creative people in pro wrestling. As there's some aspects of what he's done in WWE that I kind of like, that are kind of out there and is kind of cool. But there's a lot of stuff that I did not like Randy Orton setting him on fire, and everything involving Alexa Bliss being possessed or something. I don't know. For all the good stuff and creative stuff he's done, there's like way more of the bad stuff that I remember. Oh, and that WrestleMania match, I think was this last year, where it's him and Randy Orton, and they have this bizarre match, and Alexa Bliss is like bleeding from the face, like the Ultimate Warrior, and somebody gets pinned. I think
Keep in
Wyatt
mind,
got
keep in
pinned.
mind,
I forget.
Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton have had two matches at WrestleMania, and both those matches are
Yeah,
arguably the worst.
both of them were
Are
awful.
up there with like the worst
Yes,
matches in Mania history. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I don't think it's like the worst in history. I think the worst one's like
There,
blindfold
look, I'm
match.
sorry, but there are no redeeming qualities to either of those matches.
I forget which one.
The only
I forget what I'm
the
talking
only
about. But yeah,
redeeming quality
not the
the
worst.
only redeeming quality to a Bray Wyatt Randy Orton WrestleMania match is the first one, and that was just in the promo package where Orton's standing outside the shed that's on fire doing his pose. That's the only good thing
Yeah,
that came out of those feuds.
that's what I remember. It's that one and one of them setting the other on fire. I think they both ended up setting each other on fire at one
I
point.
mean, it's a Bray Wyatt feud. Someone's going to end up on fire.
I
All right, so yeah, I'm looking at this Crown Jewel card, and it's actually the first time that I've looked at the Crown Jewel card, um, and I completely forgotten about like the whole thing that Saudi Arabia saying they felt they were going to be subject to a targeted attack by Iran,
Could be.
uh, which is
Yeah.
great fun. I'm sure people from the WWE
Yeah.
that were looking forward to this trip to begin with looked at that and went, "Fucking great! Can't wait to get on that plane."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you would think after being abducted by, or held hostage, excuse me, a lot of those people wouldn't want to go back, but I guess
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
Iran yesterday, at time of this recording, denied the attack claim. So I don't
Oh.
know. Who the fuck knows? I guess we'll see what happens on
Who
Saturday.
knows? Russia said they weren't going to invade Ukraine.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's. Oh
You
boy.
know, good,
Let's
living in a fun timeline right
let's
now.
not go there.
Or-
So anyway, this
yeah.
card. Things of note for me looking at this, right? I think Usos and the Brawling Brutes, that could be a particularly interesting match. My issue, though, is I don't think this crowd is going to give a shit about the Brawling Brutes, and I worry that the crowd is just going to die for this
Mm.
match.
Yeah. These crowds are kind of weird. Uh, the ones for the last few shows weren't that good, but then the one last year was actually like really hot.
Mm.
So I'm not really sure what we're gonna get here.
Like if you had
Like
done this match in Cardiff, I think that you could have had like a show stealing match. But
that's what
obviously,
it would have
obviously
been.
Jimmy Uso can't leave America, so what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Or he can't at least get into the UK, I imagine. Is it? Can he not get into the UK? I know he can't get into Canada. I don't know if it works the same way with the UK.
I don't think it's. Yeah. Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure why he would be able to come here but not in the other countries. Like I guess it's different
Yeah,
regulations or whatever.
yeah.
But
Anyway, well,
yeah,
yeah,
I
Saudi
don't know.
Arabia have brought him in anyway. So, yeah, I feel like this could be a good match, but I just worry that the crowd is not going to be there for the brutes. Um, And I'd
Yeah.
expect the Usos retain, like kind of with them and Roman. It's like you might as well just keep
Yeah.
them the belts on them until
With them and
you
Roman,
know,
it's gonna be through WrestleMania at
yeah.
least. They're not losing their titles.
Bianca Belair is defending again against Bailey after what I felt was a fairly underwhelming ladder match at Extreme Rules. I feel like a last woman standing match at least has a little bit more potential to kind of work because you don't have to worry about Bailey having to climb a ladder. But I still feel like
Yeah.
I'm kind of done with last man standing or last woman standing matches. So I'm not saying I'm looking forward to this. And again, I kind of worry about the crowd and how they feel about this.
I think it'll be a lot better than the ladder match, which wasn't a bad match anyway, but yeah, I mean I kind of feel like they are much better off just having a regular singles match, but for whatever reason they haven't done that, at least for the title. So we're getting this, which I think it could be a good match. It'll probably depend largely on the crowd, but they're going to work really hard and probably have a very good
I would
match
very much expect that
regardless.
they will be motivated to have as good of a match as
Yeah.
possible. Definitely. That goes without saying. I did not realize Drew McIntyre and Karrion Cross were wrestling in a steel cage. Oh my fucking Christ.
Yeah, I'm not having high hopes for that.
Ugh.
I don't have high hopes for that. I mean, I didn't think their match last month was good, and then steel cage matches in WWE have not been great recently. I can't even remember the last great steel cage match,
I
really.
can't I can't see how considering that strap match that you basically make the confines even narrower for them. Whoa, this could be really rough.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it.
Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. Now, I enjoyed their match at the Rumble, even though Lashley nearly had his neck broken. But this is kind of what you get.
Oh
This is
yeah,
what you
yeah,
get with Brock Lesnar, just pure chaos for about 6 minutes. I can't see this being like a particularly long match. I don't think that would work to the strengths of either of these men. But I think that
Brock matches don't go
if
long
you get in
unless
there
it's like main event.
7 or 8 minutes and just fucking go hell for leather, two big meaty men slapping me, I think you should be all right here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. Just have a quick 7 minute match. Just do everything, and I think it'll be very good. Like that. Anything else? I'm not too sure
The
of.
question though is how do you go with the booking of this? Because Brock is Brock, like he has the aura that's
Yeah,
never going anywhere. Though like this year in terms of his win-loss record, it's not particularly great. Bobby Lashley is surprising. I don't even know surprisingly, but he's one of the more kind of over wrestlers on the roster, and he's just lost the United States title. And I don't
yeah,
know if they're setting up that they want to, maybe do a Roman match, like to feed to Roman before Mania or whatever. But I feel like losing the United
maybe.
States title and then losing to Brock kills all, any momentum that he currently has. So I don't know how you
Yeah.
book this one.
I'm guessing there's going to be some sort of finish that where they kind of protect Lashley, but I don't see him winning. I see Brock getting his win, because it's Brock Lesnar. Uh, but I'm not sure how you would do the finish without making a Bobby Lashley look weak, unless it's just like a squash match, which would certainly kill Lashley's momentum. But I don't think they're going to do that. I'm not sure what they're going to do. I would guess there's a finish where um, I don't know, somebody interferes or something. I'm not sure, but I think they'll find a way to protect Lashley, and once this is over, they can put him with somebody else and have him win.
The OC of AJ Styles and the returning Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, still currently the IWGP Neverweight Open Champion,
Yeah,
will take on the Judgment Day of Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio in a six-man tag team match. Um, First of all, four of the men in this match are over 40. Just want to put that out there.
yeah.
And Doc Gallows is 38. He's no spring chicken. And Dominic Mysterio
Really?
is
I
Dominic
thought he was
Mysterio.
older.
No, Doc Gallows. Like he came around like super young, but he's
Yeah.
always looked old. Like when he was Festus, he was
He's always looked older because he's always been
yeah.
bald.
Like for his
I think
Festus
that's the
character,
thing.
he was only like 25, 26 there, but obviously he
Oh,
looked like he
wow.
was in his mid 30s.
Okay.
I'm sure this will be fine, but I also don't care about any of this, and I expect this at best will be like a 3-star special.
Probably. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. They the OC since coming back haven't been bad at all. But yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like that compelled about the match. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be
All I will say
fine.
is this: if Carl Anderson was like cashing in those checks during that last kind of little run in New Japan there, and had probably one of the worst Hiroshi Tanahashi matches in like the last 10 years, I can't say I'm particularly compelled for Carl Anderson in WWE in
Oh,
2022.
yeah, that's true. That whole never title situation is really weird.
It's
I
interesting.
think they want him to drop it at Wrestle Kingdom. I think that's the story and why they didn't haven't vacated the title.
It's interesting. Just in the kind of way you look at it, like you've got this going on with Carl Anderson and New Japan. You had the announcement that Shinsuke Nakamura is going back over to Japan to fucking wrestle the
Oh
Great
yeah,
Muta in Noah. Now I didn't
yeah.
actually look into the like how that was set up. I don't know if you've had to write or read anything about that, and I'm curious if there's anything more to it because I don't know how that came together.
From what I understand, the I think Sonny Ono contacted Triple H, and I think that's how they negotiated. I think there was a thing with Nova where they wanted to make sure that AEW was cool with it because they didn't want to ruin their relationship with AEW because they and WWE right now are kind of at odds.
Wait,
And
what relationship did AEW
I,
and Noah have?
I think it's more like with DDT and
Oh,
because they're
Cyber
both
Fight,
owned by
right?
the
Okay,
same, yeah, Cyber Fight. So I mean, they had Konosuke Takeshita should be coming back soon
yeah,
and
yeah,
should
yeah.
be like a big star. And yeah, so I think they want to smooth all that over. So those are the things I kind of heard. Uh, at least those are the reports. But yeah, I think it's a story of Nakamura wanted to do it, and he pitched it to the Vince regime, and they didn't want it. They didn't want it to happen, so it didn't happen. And then when the regime changed, he pitched it to Triple H's regime, and they were fine. I guess they were fine with it. So I guess it's happening.
I wonder. Um, I'm just going to put this out there. I wonder if there's like some sort of arrangement that Nakamura can do this match, but Great Muta has to go into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Or I was thinking Royal Rumble, but also Hall of Fame. I think it would be cool if Muta at least has one match in WWE. I think it's really weird that he never had a WWE match even
Yeah, I guess
once.
that
Yeah,
is.
Liger even had a
I guess
match.
that is interesting. Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah.
So I guess Muta would go to the Royal Rumble, and I don't know. I don't even know how
I
physically
don't
in
like the
shape
idea
he
of
is. I don't think he's.
of Muta having to be knocked over the ropes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
If that's the case,
He goes to the apron or something, and somebody knocks him off. I guess they could
you
do
run into
that.
an Iron Sheik battle royale conundrum there. So,
Yeah, yeah. He can't win the Royal Rumble. He's not going to WrestleMania. I
hey,
don't
do you know
think.
what?
I don't think it's the Great Muta versus Roman
I wouldn't put
Reigns at
it past him to
WrestleMania.
pitch that. Just saying.
Yeah.
Speaking of Roman Reigns, he will be defending the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against, of all people, Logan Paul. Now, look, Logan Paul, like since he showed up at WrestleMania this year, he's been totally fine. I think that he is one of those kind of like damning indictments of the performance center. Is like, look, here's this prick
Yeah.
who's come from this other world, who's come in and completely shown up like I don't know, at least half of all of your performance center trainees.
I'm not going to name names, but there have been people in that performance center who have been wrestling for years and have been called up and are still like not
Hi, Mandy
there,
Rose. I'm going to
but
say it,
yet
Mandy Rose.
that wasn't who I was
Oh
thinking
well,
of.
there you go. There's one.
But she's okay. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's like Logan Paul's been doing has had like 2 matches and they've both been really good. Not really good, but
The-
like
t-
way
yeah,
better than I was expecting.
decent.
The Miz match was really
Yep.
good. So I mean,
They
yeah, what does that say about the performance
they do
center?
still run into the issue that he's naturally just a heel. Like he naturally is just a
Yeah, they want him so desperately to be a babyface, but he's not a
yeah.
babyface.
He's naturally a gobshite. So
He's both of those Paul brothers are naturally
yeah.
heels. So I don't know why they keep doing
Well,
it.
I think it comes a lot into people are booking these types of people not actually knowing anything about who they are, but just knowing that
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
big deals and they have large social media followings. That's it. That's
That's what they think. They think because they have large social media followings that that they're naturally baby faces. They're not. Nobody likes them because of their presence on social media and the things they've done in the past. The whole point of Jake Paul and why there's interest there is because people want to see Jake Paul get knocked
yeah.
out. The problem is he keeps bringing in people who are past their prime or are not really
I
boxers,
mean, look, it's smart.
and
The man knows his game. He knows what he's
it's
doing.
smart. He's making a lot of
Yeah.
money. He's very smart. I know a lot of people thought Anderson Silva had a chance, and if this was like 15 years ago, he would probably lose big time. But Anderson Silva has never been the same since that really
Yeah.
serious leg
Yeah.
injury.
But you know what?
He's never been
I
the
bet he
same.
didn't give a shit. I bet he very much enjoyed the payday and
No,
you know.
no. That the entire thing, the entire point here is to get a giant
Yeah.
payday with these celebrity fights, and if they win, cool. If they don't win, that's fine. They're getting paid. That's the
So
story.
I've seen people genuinely say that Logan Paul should win this match, and I don't know what these people are smoking, but it must be
What?
good to be coming up with ideas like that. Just saying.
Uh, he should not win. What would be the point? I don't know what would that mean for WrestleMania?
But
Would Logan Paul face The Rock?
the Rock match. All right, the Rock is not happening. That match is not happening.
It's not happening. No. The match for WrestleMania should be Cody and Roman Reigns,
Yeah, I know. I've been saying that for like
but
nine
I don't know
months,
if they're gonna do that. Yeah,
and if it isn't,
Cody should be ready by
yeah,
January.
fingers crossed. I did read about like his rehab, and not fun, not fun at all by the sounds of it.
No,
So
rehab is not
no,
fun for a torn pectoral muscle. I would imagine.
yeah, I wouldn't say I'd want to go through that. All right, well, stick around. North America, Bound for Glory. All right, so you kind of buried the lead on this one. So I'm just going to jump over to you first because I feel like we're going to have some differing takes on this show. So I'm just going to
Well,
start with you, Brian.
we are because I didn't watch it.
Oh, right. Okay.
Here's the problem.
Okay.
Here's the problem with TNA lately.
Are you going to cut a promo, Brian? Is this what's happening right now? All right.
Yes,
Okay.
because I don't I've been very quiet about it because I don't want Garrett to be upset. I like Garrett a lot, but running your shows live on Fridays at 5 p.m. my time against SmackDown, against Rampage. SmackDown and Rampage are shows people watch. That's where they're going to tweet. That's where they're going to pay attention to. The idea that people will later go back to watch Bound for Glory is a fallacy. That's not going to happen. I've heard Bound for Glory was great. I've heard there are a few great matches. That's great. I Impact is, I think, a lot better than it was a few years ago. I think there's some great talent. Josh Alexander, I like a lot. But I am not going to go back and watch a show that's airing live on Friday, head to head against SmackDown and Rampage, which are very important shows that people watch. SmackDown is live on Fox. Rampage is sometimes live on
Let's be
TNT.
honest, Brian. No one's watching
I
Rampage
can't
at the
pay
moment.
attention. Still way more than Bound for
Yes,
Glory. Sorry.
yeah, grading on that curve. Yes.
Uh, yeah, on that curve. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean, I cannot pay attention to shows that are going head to head on Fridays. I have no idea why they are doing this. This is not going to bring them any attention at all, especially for your biggest show of the year. I'm sorry, but if I'm not paying attention, do you think somebody who has the free time to watch all this is going to pay attention? No. I am sorry, but this is one of the worst ideas I've heard in a long time. There are plenty of free Saturdays where they can air their shows. There's plenty of free Sundays where they can do TV the next day. I have zero idea why they are doing this, and they are doing this for future shows. And those are also shows I am not going to
I
watch.
have only
At PS, Bully Ray, I think, is one of the worst things they can do to bring it in. One of the worst people they can bring in.
I have just one theory to play devil's advocate. I have one theory for why
Okay.
they might be trying this approach and this strategy, and it's probably way off from what they're actually trying to do, or it's the right what they are actually doing. It's a terrible idea, but I'm wondering if the strategy is that if they're on at the same time as Rampage and SmackDown, and people are online on Twitter or whatever else, something else that Elon Musk doesn't own, um, that people are tweeting and they're talking about these shows, and if there are other people that are watching Bound for Glory or whatever other Impact show,
Yeah.
that they are tweeting about it, then it might catch their attention and go, "Oh, hey, there's that Impact show. I should go and watch. Oh, people saying this is really good. I should go and watch that." That is the only thing I can think of. Which again, I think is a terrible idea. They should probably just do a fucking show on a day where other stuff isn't on. But like for me, because the thing, like for from my perspective, is that because obviously most North American wrestling I don't watch live, because most North American
Yeah.
wrestling is happening at a time that I'm fast asleep. I'm in my mid-30s now, need that sleep. um it doesn't really affect me because I can just wake up in the morning, and if I see Rampage, nothing of it, no, right, fine, I can bin that. SmackDown, 9 times out of 10, nothing of note, I can bin that. Bound for Glory, hey, you should go watch the main event, watch the knockout championship match in this match. Cool, right. So of the three things, I want to go watch Bound for Glory. And so I wonder even if there's some aspect to this where they're thinking about like the international market as well, because let's be honest, the North America market for Impact is pretty much a bust at this point. And in fairness, when it comes to like their
Yeah.
pay per view purchases, like they've always not even scraped like a percent of their overall like market share of people actually watching the show. They've never been able to sell pay-per-views and convert those people watching into
Uh,
buys in a way that AEW, one of the reasons that AEW has been successful is they were immediately able to get about 10% of their viewing audience to actually buy the pay-per-views, and it's just something TNA and Impact have never been able to do. So I'm guessing they're just trying different things out to see if they can convert some people from different aspects into buys. Again, it's a terrible fucking strategy. And if they're still doing it, and from what I understand, I think Bound for Glory was like fairly successful in the kind of grand scheme of Impact pay-per-views. But yeah, like I mean, I imagine for you and for other people in North America, the scheduling is just horrendous. Um,
it's not
no.
good. Like maybe there's something to that, but at the same time, it's like if I'm not watching something live, there is a very little chance I'm going to go back and watch something that's taped, or that's going head to head with a bunch of other shows that are way more important to cover. Which I mean is one of the damning indictments of Impact. I mean, as much as they're doing fine, and as much great wrestling that they have, it's just there's only so much time. There's only so much things we can cover. And Impact, it's kind of like at the wayside. It's like there with NWA and with these other promotions that kind of have name value, but we can't cover to the extent that we can because there's just so much other news and other stuff going on. It's like Impact is probably never going to close down because they have a parent company that's ride or die with them. I mean, they bought an entire network so they could put Impact on there, but it's just never going to be to a point where we could cover Impact like we cover AEW or WWE because It's just stuff is happening, and that sometimes there's news, sometimes there isn't. You know, it's not an important show, and when you're going head to head with important shows, you're going to feel at least even more or less important than you were if you just ran unopposed on a Saturday. So maybe I'm missing something about international things and you know like stuff you mentioned, but to me it's like I have no idea why they're doing this, and there has to be something better than even like a matinee show. I think at least that people would be paying attention to it. But no, they're going head to head live, and it just doesn't make any sense to me.
I can't argue with any of that. What I will say though is that there was some very good wrestling on this show.
I heard.
I will say that Frankie Kazarian and Mike Bailey in the opener for the X Division title was an excellent singles match, continuing Mike Bailey's very impressive 2022. Certainly one of the standout wrestlers of the year. Um, while I think that there's absolutely something to be said for doing a short term program between Frankie Kazarian and Josh Alexander for the world title, um, I think that you can get there without cutting the knees off of Mike Bailey, who had been having a super run here as X Division champion, was homing in on Christopher Daniels' most record for most defenses of a title run, and it felt like that they kept that they had brought that up a number of times recently that would have made you thought that, hey, maybe they're going to bring Daniels in, and maybe they'll do that for Bailey
Oh
to
yeah.
beat, Daniel's record, but they didn't. They end up with going Kazarian to win the X Division title, then who immediately cashed it in, which does bring up the question. Then is like, how the fuck does that work? The X Division title, if you own it, you can just cash it in immediately.
I think if you win the title, there's always an option. I think it's called option C, to where they cash in and they get a title match, you know,
But
whenever.
why wouldn't
I'm
every
not
X
sure.
Division champion immediately just cash it in for a world title shot?
Good
Yeah.
question.
So
I don't
there are
know.
a number of issues that I had outside of the fact that this was an enjoyable match. Um, Masha Slamovich and Jordan Grace had a fucking tremendous match for the Knockouts title. One of the best North American women's matches I've seen this year. Um, Jordan Grace has had just an unbelievable transformation just in terms of her body alone. Like, she has had a physical transformation. Her and Gresham must be in the fucking gym every day, because like she just looks incredible. She looks like a star. And
Mm.
I like am clamoring for her to be in, say, like the 5-star Grand Prix tournament next year, or just for her to have just a bigger kind of stage, because she was tremendous in this match. I've not seen much of Masha Slamovich before, but I thought she held up her own here. And I guess it's interesting, like her and Ilya Dragunov, like the part of their gimmick at the moment, or part of their gimmicks have always been the fact that they're from Russia, and you see a lot of the kind of colors and the theme songs and the iconography that come across in their presentation. And with Dragunov, they've clearly reeled back from that quite a lot in the past 9 months or so. But with Slamovich, like, you can still very much tell, she is Russian, and that is part of her character, and that is not kind of played down at all. But it's not something that's also brought up in any degrees that would be done in like a tasteless fashion. It's like, hey, she's from Russia. There you go. It's part of the character, and that's probably like the best approach to doing it. Is like, hey, she's from Russia, but no more is made of it that from besides that. But these two are just really working hard, really just good stuff. And where AEW have been super lackluster in terms of their women's showcase this year, like in terms of the matches and whatnot, there's a chance that Tony Storm and Jamie Hayter could pull like a really strong match out at
I think that could be a pretty strong
what's the
match.
show? It's Full Gear. I was saying
Full
for some
gear.
reason All Gear was in my head there for
I
a
I I,
second.
I can remember the three other shows, but for some reason, Full Gear is like doesn't immediately come to
Yeah,
me.
it's
Kind of
not
weird.
exactly the most kind of catchy name. And then the main
No.
event, Eddie Edwards and Josh Alexander beat the shit out of each other. This was like Proper like Noah fucking strong style,
Oh,
super physical match. That like Eddie Edwards clearly, he's quite banged up. He's wrestled a very hard style for the past 15 years or
yeah.
so. The look in his presentation is not exactly what I would call major league. He's probably like the best wrestler with the worst physical presentation kind of going today. But like when the bell rings, the man can still go, the man still delivers. And this was probably like the best match Alexander's had yet in this title reign, and really like cemented him as like this guy who can just go with any wrestler, do any style, and just really just kind of righting the wrongs of last year with him beating Christian Cage and then Moose coming down to cash in whatever gimmick that he had at the time. So really, really good, really strong stuff. Yes, Bully Ray is now the number one contender, and they're doing a thing there. And look, if there's a very big if we do just a short 1-2 month program here, Bully Ray comes in, it helps to legitimize Josh Alexander, and I see you mouthing, and I know it probably won't be, and whatever else. But if it is just that, then hey, fuck it. Have Josh Alexander. He can beat a former TNA world champion, gives him a little bit more credibility. I'm all for it. We'll see if that's what happens.
He just did such a great job with Flip Gordon. I have all the faith in the world
Look,
that's going
I
to
gotta be
happen.
honest. If I'm gonna pick between Flip Gordon and Josh Alexander, I'm putting my money on Josh every time.
That's a that is a. I would choose Josh Alexander as well.
Yeah. Let us bounce over to New Japan. And several weeks after the shows took place, we finally had those Royal Quest events come to VOD. And I'll first jump over to you, Brian, if you actually had a chance to watch anything from either of these shows.
I did. I made sure to watch FTR versus Aussie Open, and incredible match. FTR is without a doubt the tag team of the year. Um, Aussie Open are excellent. You know, the thing with Aussie Open is every time I see them, I'm like, they are very tall.
They are.
Why didn't why didn't WWE like look at them? I guess it was because of COVID and all that, but like they should be like an NXT right now.
Yeah, I mean,
They're better than NXT tag teams by me. Like they should. I would be surprised if they didn't try to get into WWE.
yeah, I think it was a combination of COVID, as you mentioned, but also Mark Davis blew his knee out. I want to say in like
Oh
2018 or 2019, like he was out for about a year or so,
yeah,
which is during that time that Cole Fletcher decided to fucking bulk up significantly. If you look at the way he looks
yeah.
before to how he looks now, um,
I did see him before, and he's like
yeah,
very
he's the
skinny.
transformation is ridiculous. Also, like Mark
Yeah,
Davies, I think he's in his mid-30s. Like, there's about a 10-year age gap between the two of them. Now, to be honest, again, as we just mentioned there, like one of the matches on this fucking Crown Jewel card has 4 people over the age of 40. So I don't think they're going to be too scared about Mark Davies being in his mid-30s. But yeah, look, everything about them, their look and whatnot, kind of screams WWE. But I also get the sense with
yeah,
Aussie Open, I don't think they care that much about going to WWE. I think that now this might just be kayfabe and whatnot, but even Kevin Kelly was saying on the Royal Quest show about that, like the end goal for them was New Japan, and they're the New Japan Open Strong. Well, they were the New Japan Open Strong Tag Team Champions. Um, they're finally coming in, proper onto like the proper New Japan shows, and they're really starting to make their presence known there. And I feel like that's kind of always been the end goal for them. And I think that's something that you're going to see more often now. That certainly with like younger wrestlers, just because they've been able to be exposed to more wrestling that isn't WWE. And while WWE obviously still is the biggest game in town, it's by no means the most influential or the one that has the biggest like real estate in terms of consumption of people that watch wrestling and then get into wrestling. And if fucking Cole
yeah,
Fletcher is what, 25, 26 now, he's had 10 years of like New Japan at this point being way more readily available than it was in like the mid to the early part of the century in the 90s
Yeah.
and whatnot. So if he wanted to get into New Japan, like his consumption of that and like his access to that is way more readily available. And obviously, with the decline in
Absolutely.
quality and whatnot of WWE over the last few years, um, while obviously the money is going to be the biggest thing, depending on who you are. Hey, look, if you can go and have like all these fucking ridiculous matches against the likes of FTR and whatnot, and like, like they fucking wrestled the Briscoes a few days ago in House of
They
Glory.
did. Yeah.
So I fully get it. I fully get why they might be like, maybe WWE have been have contacted them and they went, nah, we're good, mate. But anyway, this match was tremendous.
Entirely possible. It was a very great match. Uh, there's blood. It was very dramatic. It reminded me a lot of the Briscoes and FCR match from Super Card of Honor. I think that match was better, but like not by much. Like this was a really excellent match, and this is one of the matches like I gave 5 stars to. It was just really, 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 really good stuff. Aussie Open should win the tournament that I think is going to take place next month. If they aren't in, I'm going to be stunned.
That would be surprising,
They
wouldn't
should
it?
be in. Yeah, and really, the match at Wrestle Kingdom should be FTR and Aussie Open, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if FTR are going to be champions by then. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, because like FTR, they're coming in for the Osaka show, if I'm correct.
Yes,
Yeah, I could see them winning that match and then them doing Wrestle Kingdom. Um, it depends because when is Wrestle Kingdom? Wrestle Kingdom is on like a Wednesday this year.
January
Is it?
4th.
But no, is it
Yeah, it's on a
right?
Wednesday.
So
It's on a
obviously the
Wednesday.
issue that you run into there is Dynamite. But I mean, also, I mean, like
FTR aren't there
I was
every
going to say
week. They
FTR
can
have
miss
not been
every
on for the
week.
last 6 months, and fucking Dax
Yeah,
Harwood made a point of that in his promo. So I'm pretty sure they can miss a
yeah.
week.
In the post match promo, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, they don't have to be on that week's Dynamite. I think it's in like Seattle or
Yeah.
something.
Now I will say this:
Yeah,
I feel like Aussie Open, they have the tendency, and I've seen this in quite a few matches of theirs with different opponents, where they get a little bit overindulgent, where they can get a little bit too, they can throw just a little bit too much in. And there are times when I'm like, all right, I'm good for this match to end now. This could have ended 5 minutes ago. So I feel like there is just a little bit of that where they need to kind of reel it back in, but I'm talking like a smidgen because um,
yeah.
I'm certainly not knocking them for their efforts and like their ability to go all out because they certainly do. But it's I sound like an old man, but it is kind of like you could do like you could cut a third of the shit that you're doing out, and your matches are still going to be as impactful. But if they're the sorts of complaints that you have, they're the sorts of complaints you want to have, not hey fucking do more because you're boring me to tears. So yeah. The other thing of note from Tag 2 or Night 2, Tomohiro Ishii took on Yota Tsuji, who was. I can't remember who the original matchup for Ishii was against. I know whoever it was couldn't get in.
Oh God.
Maybe it was
Oh,
Juice. It
Jonah.
was Jonah. Right, yes, it was Jonah. He couldn't
Jonah.
get him. So they had Yota Tsuji, who's obviously in Excursion in the UK at the moment, and I thought this was like a fucking coming out party for Yota Tsuji, who I haven't seen much of.
Oh,
Um, but like between this match with Yota Tsuji and the Ren Narita match on the 15th in the first round of the television title, first of all, Tomohiro Ishii, one of the greatest of all time, goes without saying.
I'm gonna vote for him in the Observer Awards Hall of Fame every year until he gets
Look,
in.
if there's any
He
one
should
man
be
who
it.
deserves to get in purely on work rate alone, it's Tomohiro
Yes.
Ishii. Just fucking every day.
He's like almost 50 and he's still like
Unbelievable.
among the best workers in the
And
world.
not only that, he's now
This is
bringing up
awesome.
like the next generation, bringing them up to the next level and
Yeah.
having these types of matches. And like Yota Tsuji, there's a little bit of Ishii in there. There's a little bit of Goto in there. Like, so he's that kind of next generation of that. The Ren Narita match, obviously Narita is just fucking cosplaying Shibata, but fuck it. Like, why
I
not?
mean, it's a good person to
Yeah.
cosplay.
So this was just good stuff all around. while obviously the tag match from night one is the match to go and check out, I would definitely say check out this match from night two as well, and just that kind of just a casual reminder that Tomohiro Ishii, one of the best in the world.
Sure is.
Anything else from this month that you want to kind of bring up before we start to close this out?
Uh,
Did you watch the
j-
Triplemania show?
I did,
All right.
and it was a really great show. In fact, you're gonna be surprised who I picked for promotion of the month.
So I only watched the
Um,
last two matches on this. So if there's anything else from the show, please do let me know about it.
no, I mean this was the last two
Okay,
matches.
okay.
Those are the only two things to talk about. Um, let's see. Yeah, Vikingo and Phoenix, they had an excellent match. Just one really cool move after the other. Crowd was super into it. Vikingo is amazing, even more amazing than Ray Phoenix, who's one of the best wrestlers in the world. So I mean, once he gets going and once he comes to America and just has all these great matches, I mean, his profile's gonna skyrocket. He's like right up there with Bandito and um, Phoenix and Pentagon Junior. Just really, 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 really good. I gave this 5 stars. I thought it was one of the better matches of the year. Just really cool and innovative moves. That's the kind of match I like, and Vikingo is very good at doing that. And of course, Ray Phoenix held up his own and did cool stuff as well. And definitely a match worth watching if you haven't yet. That's really, really cool. And Pentagon Junior faced Viano 4 in the mask versus mask match. And this didn't have a lot of cool moves, but they just beat the crap out of each other for a long time. It was very stiff. It was very emotional, with these kinds of mask matches where, somebody who's been wrestling for like 30, 40 years under a mask and then it's over. Always very emotional, especially in the post match where Viano 4 did a mask and he looks like a 50, 60-year-old man with a lot of gig marks.
As a
Um,
man who's lived a hard
it hap-
life,
yeah, very hard life Viano 4 has lived. And yeah, very cool, very dramatic, very emotional. And that's the crux of that match. And that it was very cool, a very good match. And not as good as Vikingo and Phoenix, but it was a very good main event.
yeah, I think I went. What did I go? I went 4.5 on Vikingo and Phoenix. The thing with me and that match, and really the show as a whole that I watched of it, I watched the English version of this, and Triple
Yeah,
R's English production is utterly diabolical because all they do
yeah,
is they turn down the main Spanish feed and then have the
yeah.
commentators talk over,
That
which is just
the
unacceptable.
commentators are good. I like the commentary, but the problem is the
Yeah,
production,
and I
where it's like they are talking over all the production issues. There's a lot of production issues on that show too,
yeah.
which is on every AAA show, which brings it down a notch. But they got rid of Matt Striker, which I thought was a plus because Matt Striker was not great at all. They brought in Larry Dallas and I forget the other guy's name who did a good job. So I feel bad I don't have his name immediately, but they did a good job. The problem is that it was so loud that you could not hear the crowd, which is one of the most important things of a wrestling show is the crowd and how they react. And that hurt the show. I had to switch to the Smash language feed halfway through the show because it's not that the announcing is bad, but the production is.
And because the thing as
And
well,
I just had to switch
if
it.
there's any like type of any language of commentary in wrestling or just in general that you don't want to have to be talking over, it's Spanish commentary because they do not shut the fuck
Yeah.
up and they go and they're loud and they're passionate
Yeah.
and fucking whatever guy is screaming brutal brutal every 2 seconds,
Peligro.
and it's amazing and I love it, but you cannot be talking over it.
That's
It's
Hugo.
Hugo, of course it is.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just cannot do that. So, like, for the love of God, I don't know why in 2022 Triple R have having these problems when it comes to like their production, and
They need to fix it.
I just
It's been a while. I remember watching other Triple Mania shows of years before, and there's always giant production issues, and they've never been able to get it. I don't know why, but
like are they
it's
are
something
they
that they need to
flying
fix.
in Larry and the other guy? Like, because I feel like the issue is they're probably not flying the commentators in.
They did not fly in for this
Right.
show. They were they showed them actually in the at their houses, and they didn't even know.
But even
They asked if are we on TV, and you gotta go like yeah.
but
They
even
they had no
even
idea.
Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton, when they were doing the commentary from their houses for the New Japan shows, like during the thick of the pandemic, even they, while they didn't sound as good as obviously being there live, they still like were serviceable. And we were in the thick of trying to figure
Yeah,
this shit out. We're like way past. Obviously, we're still in a pandemic, but we're way past that part of the pandemic. It's like, why can you guys not figure this out? And
is
actively
it just like a
it
money
actively
thing?
ruined my enjoyment of this show because of that. And
Yeah.
that's never good. You never want that.
No, but I was I switched to the Spanish language feed for the last two matches at least, and that helped. That did help.
Anyway, that's it. I've burnt myself out now, so we're gonna go.
Yeah, my voice is
Yeah,
going.
we're gonna go into the last kind of section of this show. As always, we'll go through our wrestler, our match, and our promotion of the month. Brian, I'm going to start with you. Who's your wrestler for the month of October 2022?
Ooh, let me see. I wrote it down. Well, actually, I did not write down the wrestler of the month because I had trouble with that. Who, who to go with? Oh, I can't think of anybody. Who are you? Who are you going with?
Do you know what? There's no one actually that stands out. No, fuck it, Tomohiro Ishii.
Yeah,
I just picked him up there. It's going to have
yeah,
to be
sure,
Ishii.
sure. I'll go with him. He's great. Any month with Ishii wrestling, I mean, he's has to be up
Yeah,
there.
I just again,
I didn't watch the match with Ren Narita, but I heard really good
it's
things. In fact, I'm probably going to go watch that
it's
after
it's
this.
honestly, it's like I've been teleported back to 2013 and I'm watching fucking Shibata and Ishii in the G1. It's like that.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely go and check that out. Just yeah.
okay.
If you needed any more kind of like validation for why you should vote for Ishii in the Hall of Fame, just go watch these two matches. Definitely.
You should. Everybody should vote in Tomohiro Ishii for the Observer Hall of Fame. No reason for him not to go in.
Your match of October.
It's a tie because they both gave them both 5 stars, and it's FTR versus Aussie Open from New Japan Royal Quest 2, and Phoenix versus Vikingo from Triple Mania. Both excellent matches in very different ways. Um, FTR and Aussie Open was like a really good, dramatic tag team match. Phoenix and Vikingo is just an off the walls, like every crazy move you can think of kind of match. And both of them were excellent in doing that. So it's a tie. I can't choose between one or the other. So I'm going to go with those
No, I
two.
get it. They're two great matches, and having to pick between them, it's a real Sophie's choice. So that's entirely fair.
Yeah.
I will go just straight up with FTR and Aussie Open. I think it did suffer a little bit from because of the fact how long it was between when the show happened and when it went like was available on VOD. There was about a 2 week period where people were saying like, "Oh my god, this match is like one of the matches of the year. You have to watch it." Blah blah blah. So I think it through no fault of its own had a little bit of that. It couldn't meet the anticipation and the expectation that was set, but it's still a tremendous match. It's still one of the strong matches of the year. If you're saying that it's only just a shade below FTR and Briscoes, you're still in pretty good company. Let's be honest. So definitely that.
Yeah.
But I will give a shout out as well to Eddie Edwards and Josh Alexander from Bound for Glory as well.
Yeah.
Definitely, if nothing else, that main event is worth checking out. And yeah, your promotion of the month, and already see what you've got here, Brian, and it's kind of wild because I'm pretty sure this will be the first time they're going to get that
Mm.
shout out.
Yeah, AAA. Because I'm thinking about it, and it's like this is always a hard one to do because it's so easy just to go, well, AEW had the best TV show of the month, so I'm going to go with them. But um, I don't like picking AEW every month. WWE's okay at best. Um, New Japan, if I had more time, maybe they would win. But it's like I already have so much to watch, and they are running so many shows, and a lot of them aren't like worth tuning in and going on my way to watch at like 3 in the morning. So I usually stick to the big shows for New Japan. Like they have a big show, I think in actually, yeah, on the same day as a Crown Jewel. So I'll watch that. Actually, I probably won't because I have to get up and do the report on Crown Jewel. So I have to be up at like 8 in the morning, which is not fun. Uh, but yeah, I mean AAA. I mean I liked all three Triple Mania shows. Uh, just not everything was like coherent, and most shows kind of came off like a car crash at times. But there's some good wrestling there, and this last show was the best among the three. And those top two matches were really, really, really good. So I felt, you know what, I'm going to do something different, and I'll go with AAA because I'm not sure the next time I'm going to pick AAA for maybe for another year. So I'll go with them.
I'm going to be fairly boring, but I will have to go with New Japan. But it's not really just
Okay.
like New Japan in the traditional sense. It's kind of like overall because they've really had a global footprint over the course of October. As they've popped up
Yeah.
in the UK, they've obviously had their shows in Japan, and they had
The US
the
shows.
shows in New York as well.
Yeah.
So across the board, like again, the Royal Quest was solid shows.
Yeah.
The Declaration of Power was a fairly decent event. I thought Okada and Jonah had a great follow up to their G1 match. I think I enjoyed Jay White and Tamatonga more than most. I went 4 stars on that.
I like that
Yeah,
match. I did like
I
that
thought that was
match. That's the match I remember from the show, and I thought that was really good.
And even like in New Japan Strong, Ren Narita and Juice Robinson actually had a no disqualification match. That Ren Narita actually had a really strong October. So just across the board, like New
Yeah.
Japan kind of popping up all over the place. So yeah, I will go with New Japan and be very boring with my
Okay.
pick. So there you go. Thank you very much, as always, to people for listening. If we have a video version of this in whatever degree, thank you very much for watching the video as well. As always, you can find this through the link to the cast feed through your podcasting platform of choice. As always, I am at Lithium Project. He is at BR26. Thank you very much for watching the Grap Up, and we will see you again next month. Bye.
Bye.